People who got married in A if we're both single by 40. Deal, did you go through with it and how is your marriage? When my college roommate got married, her little sister and I plotted to get married by 30 to cash in on all the sweet wedding gifts. It became a running joke, with a hint of reality. Like, ha, but maybe. When she was 29, we were all back in town for Christmas and she brought her long-term boyfriend. Apparently, she was getting mad at him for dating this long with no proposal. So, I stopped by the grocery store and got one of those candy ring pops. I reminded her of our deal, gave her the ring and offered her my services if no other suitors had stepped up yet. A laugh was had by all, but her BF went out the very next day and bought her a real ring and proposed. I'm going to take full credit for them being happily married for 4 years now. And in case you're worried for me, I met a girl that very weekend that I've been dating for almost 3 years. Happy endings for everyone. Back in high school, me and this awesome girl had one for the age of 30. I forgot about it because I got busy traveling and working my career, saw on Facebook she got knocked up and looked awesome, then out of nowhere of no contact for a few years afterwards she messages me saying I'm getting married to blah blah blah, sorry. At first I was happy and excited for her, thinking nothing of it and why it came out of nowhere for a private message. Then later that night after a couple beer I remembered our deal, then got sad and had more beer. Stoked for her though, she has a beautiful family in a nice quiet town. Meanwhile I'm a nomadic contractor whose soul is destroyed, who'll be forever alone ha. As a nomadic consultant, I feel your pain. My best friend lives in Arkansas, my girlfriend is in Florida, my family is in Ohio, I'm in PA, and my life goal was to live in New England. I want to settle down and work in a single location. Actually I want to go back to school to get my PhD, but where? Not me, but a former co-worker had a deal with someone she knew from high school. By the time the deal came around, he was a very successful consultant making enough money that he could, financially, sweep her off her feet. They decided to go through with it and move to London. I asked her what she was going to do with herself over there. She had always been highly motivated, career-driven and very active in charities/social causes she believed in. She replied, I'm going to be a rich man's wife. It seemed like a total 180 from who I had thought she was. The day of the wedding, her best friend was talking with the fella and said I've never seen the woman look so happy. She finally found her knight in shining armor. The man looked back at the friend sadly and said I'm not her knight in shining armor. I'm her backup. After a year in London, they decided to move back to the States and settled in Miami. She became pregnant, gave birth to their son and stayed home to be a full-time mom. Everything seemed fairly normal. 3 years later, she ran into a work friend of her husband's and that person remarked that he was sorry things weren't working out with the man. My ex-coworker was perplexed. Apparently, her husband had told all of his co-workers that they were getting divorced, he was moving with their son to Charleston, to be near his parents, and that she wanted nothing to do with the child. That last bit could not have been further from the truth. She adored being a mom. Needless to say, they got divorced. I've since changed jobs and haven't kept up with what has happened since. Maybe my mind has been warped by too many crime shows, but I honestly think he was, at best, planning on running off with the kid and, at worst, planning on killing his wife. I crushed on a girl since I met her at 15. Never once told her how I felt, junior high through high school. Went off to different colleges. I always kept in touch throughout the years off and on. We were sort of friends. I'd maybe email her once or twice every couple years. She finally got on Facebook around age 35 and we got to talking. Both sort of single with pathetic dating lives at the time, so we joked around about getting married if we were both single by age 40. Never thought it was serious. We lived in different states. Time went on and the keeping in touch fizzled. I got deployment orders to an undisclosed location in the Middle East and went back to my small hometown to visit my mom before I left. I got super drunk with one of my old high school buddies. He had her number, so I blew up her phone, texting all my feelings I've had for like 20 years. I was blackout drunk and vaguely remember doing it. The next morning I embarrassingly read everything I wrote. At first, she was very confused, thinking it was the other guy writing all this to her. He was married, BTW. She got a hold of me and we chatted. I called her. Both still single. We texted and called as much as possible during my deployment. She'd send me care packages. Her support really got me through a deployment. When I returned stateside, she was there to greet me. We had our first kiss at the airport. It was so exciting, the butterflies. We spent 10 awesome days together. Then I flew back with her and spent the rest of my leave with her. I proposed 3 months later, she said yes. I moved cross-country and we got married. Sounds like something out of a romantic movie, hey? We currently have a 1-year-old 17-month-old, and I have to admit our marriage is pretty rocky. A byproduct of rushing a marriage, child, and 10 other life-changing events in such a short time span without really getting to know each other and setting and agreeing on life expectations up front. But I'm hopeful with either outcome, stay married or divorce. That's my story. Edit, thanks for the replies. I do love this woman to death. I feel hopeful, and in the last year, I saw a counselor and got my together. My biggest issues is 2 years no, affection, compassion, acceptance. Her biggest issue is I'm a mean person. I was passive-aggressive but not anymore, my abrasive way of being too direct comes off as mean. So working on it. Like I said, I'm hopeful because we are communicating better and she's coming back to the table at least. And if divorce happens, I'm fine with it. But still, 2 years no. I'll be in r/dead bedrooms if anyone asks, maybe r/divorce after that. JK. Thanks again, writing my story out got me a little nostalgic, and I liked seeing in some of the replies that it's not just me going through hell. Marriage is hard. My best friend's sister. She was 13 and I was 21 and out to dinner with him and her family at a restaurant at a local mall. Unknown to me, and obviously since she was 13 years old it didn't matter to me, she evidently had a bit of a crush on me and asked me to take a picture with her in one of those photo booths. We made silly faces, but of course we had to sit close and she liked that, again, unknown to me. She kept the pictures. I soon graduated and went into the army. She wrote me a couple of times while I was in Germany. I thought she was just being nice. Life happened. Through the years, she got married and had a couple of boys. I got out of the army, moved back home, got married, and had a daughter. I got divorced 20 years ago and she got divorced about 8 years ago. We both dated and had a few relationships over the years, but neither of us remarried. My best friend and his wife asked me if I wanted to go to Chicago to see the Christmas lights and hang out for a couple of days drinking and such. Unknown to him and I, his wife asked his sister if she wanted to go. We all went. Halfway through the day of seeing Chicago, my best friend wasn't feeling well. He wanted to go take it easy at the hotel. We all had separate rooms. Of course his wife was going to end the evening early with him, so his sister and I decided we'd continue seeing the city together. In my mind at that time there was no inkling of romance between us. I was 47 and she was 39. We went to the German Christmas market and had drinks and talked. We then decided we wanted to go to the nightclub on top of the John Hancock building. We had no idea how romantic that would be at night. That's when I started looking at her in a new light. She was feeling it too. We finally left and took a carriage ride through downtown Chicago. By the end of that carriage ride, we were kissing. 2 years later we were married on Megan's Bay in St. Thomas with my best friend, who I always called brother anyway, being my best man, and his wife the matron of honor. That was 3 years ago and we're still like new lovers. She still has those photo booth pictures to this day. I asked her why she kept them. She said that if we were ever single later in life, she was going to marry me. We're also going on our 4th cruise in 2 more weeks.